Brandon Roy is considered by many to be the best NBA player whose career ended abruptly due to injuries. Don't believe me? Well, this is how Kobe Bryant puts it. Roy has no weaknesses in his game. And if I have to choose between him or Kevin Durant, I'm choosing Brandon Roy 7 days a week. An incredible statement coming from one of the best to ever do it, and this video will demonstrate how accurate it really is. Born in Seattle on the 23rd of July, 1984 to Gina and Tony Roy, Brandon was a happy and energetic little boy. He became a student at the African American Academy, but with his family not having much money growing up, he remembers his childhood as being difficult at times. Luckily for Roy, he found solace in basketball and started playing for the Amateur Athletic Union, which is one of the biggest sports leagues in the US. Brandon attended Garfield High School in Seattle and quickly became one of the state's best high school players. He was actually an early entry candidate for the 2002 NBA draft going straight out of high school, but he eventually chose to go the college route. Considered a 4-star recruit by Scout.com, Roy was listed as the 6th best shooting guard and the top 40 overall player in the nation. Brandon experienced some difficulties before going to college though. No one in his family had ever gone to college, and due to a learning disability, he struggled on the SAT test. On his 4th try, Roy was finally able to meet the NCAA requirements and passed the test. In fact, while he was taking the test, he worked at the docks cleaning containers for $11 per hour at the Seattle ports. This job was actually a backup plan because he wasn't sure he would be able to attend college due to his learning difficulties. However, his persistence made way for him, and Roy eventually got into the University of Washington and started his college career in the fall of 2002. Roy remained in college for 4 years under head coach Lorenzo Romar and continued to improve his game each season. In his senior year, while averaging 20.2 points per game, Roy was named Pac-10 Player of the Year, received All-American honors leading his team to their 2nd straight NCAA Division I tournament berths. He ended his college career as a finalist for the 2006 Naismith College Player of the Year award, only falling short to future NBA star J.J. Redick. In the spring of 2006, he had a pre-draft workout with the Portland Trail Blazers, who desperately needed quality players. Now, you have to understand that the Trailblazers were totally a mess during that time, and team management was trying to erase the reputation made by the Jailblazers era. Those were the days when the roster was filled with players who constantly made headlines for all the wrong reasons. It got so bad that the former owner, Paul Allen, even considered selling the franchise at one point. However, Brandon Roy was announced at the NBA draft as the 6th overall pick. He was originally drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, but the Trailblazers really liked what they saw during the pre-draft workout and made a quick move for Roy, trading him for the draft rights to one Randy Foye. But the Trailblazers weren't done yet. A guy you might have heard of, named LaMarcus Aldridge, was drafted 2nd overall by the Chicago Bulls, and Portland wanted him bad as well. The Trailblazers traded their 4th pick in the draft, Tyrus Thomas, as well as their power forward Victor Kriapa for the rights to the talented center. So, to sum it all up, Portland traded 3 players who never made an impact on any NBA team during their careers, in exchange for 2 potential franchise-changing players. It's safe to say the 2006 NBA draft was a huge success for the Trailblazers. Although there was newfound hope in Portland, the fans didn't have high expectations going into the 2006-07 NBA season. And why would they? The team had missed the postseason for 3 years straight, never finishing above 500 or even slightly close to it. So, except a somewhat productive Zach Randolph on the team, there wasn't much to look forward to. But unknowingly, a star had been drafted to them, and while other players, including those drafted ahead of him, needed time to blossom, Brandon Roy hit the ground running immediately. His first game was against his beloved home state team, the Seattle Supersonics. But that didn't bother Roy, scoring 20 points and 19 the following game. Roy's talents and amazing ability to design his own shot were evident immediately. Brandon had an excellent first season with a game average just shy of 17 points, 4 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. B-Roy won the NBA Rookie of the Year award and received amazingly 127 out of 128 first-place votes. Due to an injury, of course, he only played 57 games in that season, the 2nd fewest games for a Rookie of the Year in NBA history. Despite Roy's instant success, he wasn't able to lead Portland to the playoffs, and the team would miss out on the tournament for a fourth consecutive year. The Trailblazers traded Zach Randolph and Fred Jones to the New York Knicks the following season in exchange for Steve Francis and Channing Frye. These changes were pivotal, as they helped Aldrich and Roy going forward. Also in the 2007 NBA Draft, the team had the first overall pick and chose college sensation Greg Oden. The future Portland Trailblazer had never been brighter. Before the start of his second campaign, Roy had a minor procedure removing cartilage causing irritation on his left knee, and the season did not start as good as expected. After a 21-point defeat to the Spurs in the first game of December, the team realized they'd reached rock bottom. Things were looking really bad for Portland with a 5-12 record approaching the end of the year. Then, out of nowhere, the players all of a sudden began to play as a unit. Steve Blake and James Jones performed their roles as team leaders, while Aldrich and Roy played their part as the club's primary scorers. B. Roy had 10 games with 20-plus points, and 6 of those games went for 25-plus points during a remarkable 13-game winning streak. Even though the Trailblazers yet again would miss out on the playoffs, one thing was for sure: Brandon Roy had made a name for himself and planted his stake as the face of the Portland Trailblazers organization. The 2008-09 season was the beginning of terrific times for both the city of Portland and Brandon Roy himself. The young star agreed to a 5-year maximum salary contract worth $82 million. In a December game against the Phoenix Suns, Roy scored a career high of 52 points. That season officially elevated Roy to one of the league's top shooting guards, averaging almost 23 points per game with a 48% field goal percentage. The Trailblazers finally made the playoffs but lost in the first round to the Houston Rockets. Following the series loss, Houston Rockets star Ron Artest called Brandon Roy the best player he's ever played against. This season, B. Roy earned his first All-NBA designation as well. Roy's first half of the 2009-10 season got off to a fantastic start, and he was set to earn in his third and sadly final All-Star appearance when he hurt his hamstring against the Philadelphia 76ers just a few weeks before the All-Star break. B. Roy would be forced to sit out the All-Star game in the following 12 games regular season games. Following the hamstring injury, Roy showed signs that he could get back to his old self, but the injury bug would catch back up to him. Trailblazers were to play against the Los Angeles Lakers at the end of the regular season, but unfortunately, Roy only played for 11 minutes before leaving the game due to right knee pain. An MRI revealed a torn meniscus, and even worse, this was just days before the playoffs started. Roy would decide to hold off on the surgery until the offseason, but would still need to miss a couple games and maybe the entire playoffs. Portland would face against the Phoenix Suns in the first round of the playoffs, and B. Roy shocked everyone by returning for Game 4, helping them tie up the series. Unfortunately, Games 5 and 6 showed obvious weaknesses from an injury-plagued Roy, and the Trailblazers would yet again be eliminated. Right before the start of next season began, B. Roy got some serious praise from the best player in the league at that time. NBA superstar Kobe Bryant called Brandon Roy the hardest player he had to guard, claiming there was no weaknesses in his game. That's of course highly regarded coming from one of the best ever, but also as a conference rival who matches up against Roy several times each year. The 2010-11 season was similar to the previous one. After having treatment done on his knees during the summer, Roy had a strong start to the season. However, shockingly to both Roy and the Trailblazers, his knees were even worse than the physicians had initially suspected. It was revealed that B. Roy would require arthroscopic surgery on both of his knees in the middle of January 2011. This was of course terrible news for Roy, but also for a team preparing for a return to the playoffs. Brandon Roy would miss out on the next 30 games and played off the bench for the remainder of the season. However, his shot-making ability was not as before the surgery. He was no longer as explosive and couldn't create the same separation as he successfully did in previous years. Roy knew his importance to the team was diminishing, but had to accept his new position playing under 10 minutes in some games. Everything was bleak, and it seemed like it was over for B. Roy, but was it? Once again, playoff time came to Portland, and the Trailblazers would face third-seeded Dallas Mavericks in the first round. The Mavs was in complete control after claiming the first 2 wins in Dallas. The Trailblazers narrowly defeated them in Game 3, but Game 4 became the turning point in Roy's career, and the final occasion we would ever see him perform at his highest level. The Trailblazers had missed their first 15 shots after the break, with the Mavs leading a comfortable 67-44. B-Roy made a three-pointer near the end of the third, making it 67-49. Then the magic started. After going 1 for 3 in the first 3 quarters, he scored an amazing 18 points in the fourth. This included a crucial 4-point play to tie the game, after which he put up a bank shot from the middle of the paint with 49 seconds left to give his team the lead. Roy finished with 24 points to lead the Trailblazers to an unlikely 84-82 victory and tie the series. Unfortunately, for both Roy and the Trailblazers, Dallas won the next 2 games, finishing Portland in the first round yet again. Sadly, and almost unavoidably, just before training camp the next season, Roy announced that he was retiring from basketball. His knees had degenerated so much that he lacked cartilage between the bones of both, and had no chance of playing at the level he wanted. Roy returned from retirement before the 2012-13 season, signing a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He underwent PRP treatment, the same as Kobe Bryant successfully had done the previous year. Roy felt well during training camp, but suffered an injury after a collision during a preseason game. Unfortunately, Roy just played in 5 games before needing season-ending surgery on his right knee. Roy later said, "Anytime you walk away from a game, you have what-ifs. I feel like I was able to answer those concerns last year by getting out there and giving it a go." Brandon Roy was on track to become one of the best shooting guards in NBA history. Sadly, his knees never gave the man a chance to fulfill his quest. And while some players just never have what it takes to succeed in the NBA, Roy most definitely had it and then some. He will forever be one of the biggest what-ifs in all of basketball. And I really don't think NBA fans know how talented and crazy good that man actually was. If you don't believe me, take Ron Artest and Kobe Bryant's word for it. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.